Grow with Joe is a popular YouTube content creator with a popular kettlebell workout. Let's review her exercises and make it a teaching moment. But before we get started, I have a gift for you. 30 days filled with kettlebell workouts for free. Check the first link in the description. Grüß miteinander, Gregory von Lebe hier. Let's jump right into the exercises that Grow with Joe is implementing in her kettlebell workout. So what she's doing right now is she's jumping and running around and walking around with the kettlebell. Now, while I think that walking and maybe a little bit of running can be a good idea to warm up with the kettlebell, I don't think grabbing the bell and then dancing around, even though it looks like she's having fun, which is awesome, is the best way to do a proper warm-up. Also, I don't think it is the safest way to engage with the kettlebell when you have it overhead and then you start kicking. A good warm-up routine should be divided into two parts. First, a little bit of mobility to open up and mobilize the joints, and then some dynamic stuff to elevate your heart rate to get ready to train. Now, if you're looking for a proper mobility warm-up, you can watch this one right here. As for the dynamic stuff, walking is a great way to bring your heart rate up. Running, maybe some little high knees or some butt kicks, is also a great way to elevate your heart rate. However, I would recommend for you to be cautious, to not start running and kicking with a kettlebell in your hand. In the next exercise, she's doing a goblet squat. And the big mistake that I see is what many beginners do wrong is they engage in a back squat instead of a front squat. So she's pushing her hips back, the upper body leans forward, and now the weight is outside her center of mass, and then you might feel it all in your lower back. If you are goblet squatting, however, with the weight in front of you, you don't want to lean forward with your upper body and push the hips back, but you want to hinge a little bit, push the knees out, and keep your upper body as upright as possible. The next exercise is the deadlift. And again, I see a mistake that I see a lot of people do. They are not locking the spine and using the body as a full unit. Watch Grow with Joe's hips. Watch what she's doing. She's isolating and flexing the pelvis. And you don't have to do it. You want to move your spine in a locked place and use the posterior chain, hamstrings, your glutes, as well as your lower back as a unit, and don't isolate it. Before we jump into the deadlift, you want to understand the three movable parts of your spine: your hips, your chest, and your neck. You can move them on an isolated level. When it comes to a deadlift and many other exercises, you want to lock the spine so that these three movable parts are rigid and they stand as one column in one place. So as I do the deadlift, shoulder width stance, the kettlebells between my feet, now hinging, grabbing the weight, my back is straight, now I stand up, boom, and then I come back down. I want to avoid that any of these movable parts of my spine start isolating themselves. I want to have this rigid column. With her next exercise, the row, she's demonstrating a movement pattern that can really get you injured, or at least tweak your back. It's never a good idea to start lifting weights that are outside your center of mass. Recently, one of our clients tweaked his back because he wanted to lift something that was outside the center of mass, and he couldn't train for at least 2 weeks. If you memorize this movement pattern that is taught by Grow with Joe, you are rowing weights outside your center of mass, and this can cause problems because you'll probably walk around thinking, okay, that's a good way to lift, and then you do it with something that is a little bit heavier, and boom, you'll feel your back. So if you want to row properly, you keep the weights between your legs inside your center of mass. Now I'm shifting body weight a little bit to my right side. Now I roll the weight up, then I'm shifting the weight to the other side, then I roll the weight back up. This is a proper way to row a weight inside your center of mass where you are getting a lot of engagement and you're also safe. The next exercise is the kettlebell swing. Here we have a classic example of a reinforced movement pattern that she got used to through the deadlift. She's isolating and flexing the pelvis. That's something we want to avoid. We want to lock the spine and work with the full body. The swing variation that we love to do is the hand-to-hand swing. I have a shoulder width stance. The kettlebell is a little bit in front of me. I grab it by the handle, tilt it towards me. Now I start swinging. So I wait until the arm reconnects with my body. And as soon as the arm connects, I'm hinging. And then I hip thrust the weight upwards. As you reach the top position, do not flex this pelvis, but keep the spine locked. The next exercise is the upright row. That's an exercise that a lot of therapists think that it might be troublesome for the shoulder. So that's something that I would leave away. If you still want to use this kind of movement pattern, you can do a high pull where you are pulling the bell upwards, making sure that the palm and the wrist is always higher, or at least at the same position of your elbow. The next exercise is the hand-to-hand swing, which I've demonstrated already. First of all, the arms are flaring out too far out and wide. Think about, as you're swinging the kettlebell, that the kettlebell swings upwards and not away from you. The second problem that I see is she's looking around with the neck, and of course she wants to interact with her audience, which I understand to a certain extent, but when you are training and exercising and working out, keep a fixed gaze. The next exercise is the thruster. It seems like Grow with Joe is punching the kettlebell in the air. That's not how you want to do it. A proper thruster looks like this. We have the kettlebell in a so-called CrossFit grip. Now I go down into a squat, and then I combine it with a press. Now you want to work a little bit slower. Don't go too fast. And don't punch the kettlebell in the air away from your center of mass. Make sure as you reach the top fixation that the kettlebell is right above your head. The next exercise is the halo. If you'd ask me, I would consider the halo as a warm-up and not as a workout exercise. With the halo, you don't want to sway back and forth and make the circle too big. What you want to make sure is that as you are traversing the kettlebell around your head, that you want to keep it tight and close, and don't go too fast. Your shoulder is a fairly delicate joint, so you want to move slow and carefully. A couple of the exercises that Grow with Joe is doing belong into the what category. I don't really know what she wants to do with the kettlebell. Of course you can do it, but I like what my mentor Dan John says. He says, just because you can doesn't mean you should. The reason I do these videos is not to bash on these creators, but to help people get educated and understand kettlebell training in a proper way. The reality is that many people hurt themselves when they start working out because they don't use the tool in question in the right way. And I want you to avoid this. So here's the next thing that you have to do. Like the video, consider subscribing, share with a friend, and then go watch this video. Maybe this is the first time you landed on our kettlebell channel. We're all about kettlebells. And now you're interested and you want to learn more. Here I got a great tutorial for beginners to get started. So go watch it right now.